Now, Barack Obama has gone viral the last few days because he finally went on his wife's podcast. I don't know why he didn't go on the podcast before. Maybe their ratings had dipped and it was time to call in the big dogs. But Barack Obama went on Michelle Obama's podcast. I don't know what the hell it's called. It's called IMO or something. My producer will tell me in my ear. I think the podcast is called IMO. That's how much I give a crap about this podcast with Michelle and Barack Obama, because this entire podcast, okay, the whole thesis of this podcast is that Michelle Obama is miserable and unhappy and she wants to complain about her life. And this is just what America needs, right? Whether it's Meghan Markle, Michelle Obama, they need another podcast of a rich, wealthy Democrat elite sitting around their mansion complaining about their problems. And that's what Michelle Obama has done. She complained she was miserable being first lady. She had to pay for her own food. She had to pay for her own food even though she had a private chef and a private plane and she lived in the White House for 8 years. And then she goes on the podcast and says her dreams were never actualized. Her dreams were never realized. Oh, poor Michelle, you had to be first lady. Poor Michelle Obama, that you had to be first lady of the United States. We're so sorry that that wasn't good enough for you. But her husband goes on this podcast and they actually joke about sort of the marriage rumors and the divorce rumors. I want to take a look at that.
Wait, you guys like each other?
Oh, yeah, really, huh?
That's so
the
nice.
rumor mill. It's my husband, y'all.
She took me back.
Now, don't start.
I can't.
It was touch and go for a while.
It's so nice to have you both in the same room
I
together.
know.
I know, because when we aren't, folks think we're divorced. There hasn't been one moment in our marriage where I thought about quitting my man. And we've had some really hard times. So we have had a lot of fun times, a lot of adventures, and I have become a better person because of the man I'm married to.
Okay, don't make me cry now. Right at the beginning of the show.
Oh, that's sweet.
Don't let me start tearing up now.
This seems like another therapy session. I don't know why we all have to be subjected to the Obama's therapy sessions, whether it's, Meghan Markle, Prince Harry, Barack, and Michelle Obama. Do these rich liberals think we want to see them sit around and talk about their problems? It's like Oprah. She goes on these podcasts and she complains about the state of the world and things are so bad. We don't want to hear people who get $100 million checks regularly complain about their problems. And that's why no one wants to be associated with these Democrat elites anymore, like Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, Joe Biden. Nobody wants anything to do with it. And it's why you guys were rejected at the ballot box in November, resoundingly. And I'll also say this about the marriage. I think where there's smoke, there's fire. They can joke about the rumor mill and she took me back and my husband and I love you. But you notice very quickly, she talks about they've had some bad times, and she's gone on podcasts and said half the years they spent together allegedly were terrible, and she was so unhappy and miserable. So they can play hunky-dory and play nice. We've all been in that relationship where you're just bickering and fighting with your man, and then you get to dinner, and you got to put on a good face, and everything is great, and you get along and all of that. I think that's what we're seeing on the podcast. I would also bet money on the fact Michelle and Barack Obama don't spend that much time together. I'm here to tell you, they just don't spend that much time together. Michelle Obama, she's been going on vacations without him, doing her own thing. He's off having dinners without her, getting photographed. And if that's when they're being photographed, imagine when the cameras aren't around, right? We catch them apart that much. Imagine when they're not caught on camera. So I do think there's a little bit of trouble in paradise, but like the Clintons, Hillary and Bill Clinton and Jill and Joe Biden, Barack and Michelle Obama, this is still a business. Right? These are Democrat elites. This is a business. We keep it together. We put up a face. We do our book deals. We do our book tours. We do our Netflix deals. We do our podcasts. This is a business. And it's why Bill and Hillary stayed together. It's why Michelle and Barack Obama have stayed together, in my opinion, because this is a business. Now, something else Barack Obama said on the podcast that has gone absolutely viral are his comments on how I think young men need gay mentors. Let's look at that and then dissect.
One of the most valuable things I learned as a guy was I had a gay professor in college at a time when openly gay folks still weren't out of line, who became one of my favorite professors and was a great guy and would call me out when I started saying stuff that was ignorant. You need that to show empathy and kindness. And by the way, you need that person in your friend group, so that if you then have a boy who's gay or non-binary or what have you, they have somebody that they can go, okay, I'm not alone in this.
That is exactly what young men need. They need gay and non-binary professors to teach them about empathy. I'm here to tell you, I had some gay professors and teaching assistants in college, and you would bet your bottom dollar I was at office hours, especially if they were cute, okay? But it wasn't because I wanted to learn about empathy. I will tell you that right there. And for Barack Obama to go on a podcast decades later and still talk about this gay professor, what's going on? What's going on, Barack Obama? What's happening with you? The gay professor taught you everything you need to know. I'm gay and I'm calling a flag on the play. I don't know what flag on the play means. It's a sports term, but I'm calling a flag on that play. And Barack Obama, you sound ridiculous. You know how you teach empathy and kindness and all of these things? Ideally, by having a father in the home. That's ideal. That would be the best case scenario. But you also learn empathy and kindness from being around friends, from going out, from being around your peers and having a good peer group, from church, from faith, from family, all of those things. The fact that it took you going to college and getting close to a gay professor to learn about empathy and the professor would call you out, this whole story sounds wishy-washy to me, okay? And I'm not gonna say much more than that, but the whole thing sounds weird. I don't know a grown man who is still lapping love and praise onto a gay professor he had decades ago in college. The whole thing is bizarre to me that Barack Obama brought this up. I don't know if he's signaling. I don't know if the man is still out there. Maybe he's done an interview. But for Barack Obama to say that these young men need gay and non-binary and all of these mentors to learn about empathy, really? Why does sexuality even matter in this, right? Why does it have to be gay? Couldn't it be a straight person? Couldn't it be a woman? Couldn't it be this? Who gives a rat's ass? Also, if you're a grown man at Harvard University and you don't know about empathy and kindness and you're that much of a narcissist, that tells us a lot about you, Barack Obama. That tells us a lot about you. Barack Obama, he is very conceited. He seems like a narcissist. He has a huge ego, and you have to have that to some extent to make it to the height of, power. To run for president, you have to be a little bit of a narcissist and be full of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Everybody does, to think you should be the leader of the free world. But it is bizarre to me that we're still hearing about Barack Obama's gay professor who he was close to in college, who taught him about empathy. And that could be why Michelle is not feeling so hunky-dory about the relationship, okay? If you're married to a man, ladies, if you're married to a man and he speaks more highly of his gay professor in college than he does of you, that could be a problem.